so we can kick this thing off. Awesome. Thank you for joining, everybody. I'm sure we'll have more trickling in here and then as time goes by, but we got a lot to cover today, so we're going to get this thing rolling. I would encourage everyone to crack open their free beer now, but let's be honest, I'm sure that ship has most definitely already sailed. Now that we've got the whole team here and everyone's getting settled, we're going to dive in. So here's where we got our agenda tonight. What you are looking at is what we're going to spend our time on. So we're going to start by thanking all the rad people who make this possible. We're going to introduce our board and staff and then do some nonprofit stuff with some re-elections. We'll get to talking about trails right after that. So we've got updates on each of the areas that you guys see here that we're going to run through. And spoiler alert, a few times we're going to ask all of you to support our work in 2022 with a Colorado Gives Day donation. And of course, we've got some prizes to give away at various points as well. So whether you win a prize, are sipping on some free beer, or just enjoy riding bikes on the local trails, maybe think about it. Sound good, everyone? All right, let's go ahead and get started. So, like I said, I want to start with some thank yous. This goes without saying, but we're going to say it anyway. Thank you, members. We are a member-based organization, and I know all of you were coerced with free beer, but thankful nonetheless. As of today, we have 1,340 current members, which is the most that BMA has ever had. So that's super exciting. BMA is a growing organization, and the support that you all bring to the table is what is enabling us to do more than we ever have. We would, of course, have loved to have you all at our usual camp out with beer, food, riding, and a bonfire, but we're stoked to have you all here with us nonetheless. BMA parties are on the horizon. You bet we're chomping at the bit to get them going again as soon as we reasonably can. So just hang with us. Next, we want to thank our partners. So along with our members, we have 45 business partners that we're super, super thankful for. Each and every one of them helps us do what we do. And alongside our members, they make it possible for us to keep things rolling. So everything from cash donations to goodies that we can pass along to you all and give away, right? Like some of the prizes we'll have tonight, for example, or the beer. Being in Boulder with all these awesome organizations definitely has its perks. So thank you, partners. And members, go on out and support them because they support us and they support mountain bike trails in Boulder. So I'll take a second and talk real slow so that you can scan this list and figure out where you can go and kind of pick up some new goodies and support some of these awesome folks. All right, let's talk about swag and prizes. So BMA is going to give away some prizes tonight. So we promised we're going to deliver. We've got some sweet goodies to give away from a few different vendors, and we're going to do it at a few different points throughout the evening. So we're stoked to have some new business partners as well, and also continue receiving the generosity of our existing partners. So we've got everything from beer to gift cards, and it's going to all of you. So we'll be breaking up the presentation for a couple minutes between slides because we're going to be covering a lot. And so some breaks would be good anyway. And we're going to use that time to raffle off some sweet gear throughout. We'll also just encourage you guys to, if you are going to do a donation for Colorado Gives Day, when we start rocking the prize wheel, that's a great time to just pop on over there and just listen for your name. Hopefully you win a prize while you check out the Colorado Gives Day donation page. So one really important detail, you must be present to win. So anyone who's not listening, if you catch that, if your name comes up and you aren't around to claim it, we're just going to keep drawing. We don't want anyone who registered but isn't actually here to slow things down. So if you do hear your name, just throw something in the chat. Let us know, hey, I'm here, and we'll make sure to get that to you. Secondly, the other thing I want to call out are these Skills Clinic gift certificates. They're transferable. So if you do win one of these, just know if you think you're too rad and don't need a Skills Clinic, well, that's probably not true. But if it is, you can gift it to a riding partner, and that way you can hook it up to somebody that you're usually waiting on at the bottom anyway. All right, so let's jump into our introductions. So this is going to be an introduction into the people of BMA, right? So first off, your board of directors. We've got some changes to the board this year. So this year is a year where most of our board members' terms are ending. So we've got a few new folks who are going to be stepping away after a great term. And of course, we're going to miss them, but we are psyched to see where they're going to end up investing their time in the community from here. So among them is Lauren Constantini, Rich Cook, and Marcus Poppets. And we are extremely grateful for their time and effort that they've put into BMA. And the mountain biking community at large. So unless they move out of state, this is maybe a warning to them. Unless you guys move out of state, we're definitely going to continue bugging you for some trail days though. So we've also got two new additions to the board, Stephen Barnes and Brooke Rowdy Gowdy. I couldn't not throw that in there. So now we're going to run through a quick intro of the 2022 Board of Directors. And then we're going to have ourselves a little vote. So let me go ahead and get my video on here. So my name is AJ, AJ Kamish. I'm currently serving on the board as president. So I mostly get my kicks out of trail riding. And I do a bunch of bike packing, and we're each going to introduce ourselves, but then also name our favorite ride for the year that we did. So for mine, for 2021, would have to be a trip that I took to bike pack in Slovenia in the Julian Alps, which was just killer back in August. So that was mine. So now I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Colin.
Thanks, AJ. How the hell am I supposed to follow that? Anyway, I'm Colin Towner, currently serving as a treasurer on the board. I am also mostly a trail rider and that sort of thing. It was hard to pick one ride, but anytime I get a ride on a ridge line with the sunset behind it, I'm a pretty happy dude. So that's my favorite spot to go. And I'll pass it off to Deb.
Hi, everybody. I'm Deb Trevor, and I've served on the board the last couple of years as secretary, and I'm coming back for 2 more since they will have me. My favorite ride of this past year was the South Boundary Trail in Taos. I don't know if anybody else has done that, but it's pretty amazing, single track, it goes on forever through the woods. So that was very cool. Looking forward to seeing all of you out there on the trails next year. And I'm going to throw it to Kelsey.
Hey everybody, I'm Kelsey. I've also served 2 years on the board and looking forward to 2 more awesome ones. I serve mostly with the programs and work with the volunteers. My favorite ride of this year was just over Halloween. We did Mag 7 and the weather was perfect and it was clear and it was beautiful. And that's one of my favorite trail systems around here. And I will pass it to Marcus.
Yeah, so as AJ said, stepping off the board, bittersweet, but it's nice to hand it off to someone like AJ to take over and all the new board members. So that's awesome. My favorite ride is actually Classa rides. Like my kids have finally hit the point where they're riding at my level and sometimes a wee bit beyond my level, which is pretty awesome. So I've been riding at Lefthand with my kids. They're 13 and 15 and watching kids who can bounce and fly through the air is pretty freaking awesome. So that's been the highlight of my year is chasing them down Indy or watching them hook something that I won't hook. And heading over to Rich.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining the call. Rich Cook here. Like Marcus, I'm also cycling off after 2 terms. Highly recommend BMA to anyone who has some nonprofit experience or would like to gain some. Great organization, really enjoyed spending time here. And reach out to Wendy or AJ if you're interested. But I've been mostly chasing around kids from the Fairview High School mountain bike team and serving as volunteer coach up there and look forward to doing that a little bit more. So you'll find me out on the trails of South Boulder chasing the kids around. And I'm going to hand it off to Ryan.
Good evening, everyone. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm Ryan Beck. I've been living in Boulder since 2013, working in the mountain biking industry. Started serving on the BMA board last year, so this will be going into my 2nd term. My favorite ride this year, sort of in the lines of Marcus, was actually this last Saturday when I got to go ride Fast Money with 3 other people who all hadn't ridden it up at Maryland Mountain. And it's been such a long time since I've ridden a group wide with friends right in this area that none of us had ridden the trail before, and discovering that together was just fantastic. Best ride. With that, here is Brooke Gowdy.
Hi everybody. I'm the newbie, and my favorite ride is this year as I traveled the Great Divide mountain biking route, which goes from Canada to the border of Mexico. Oh, sorry, Stephen.
Hello there all, this is Stephen Barnes and I, like Brooke, am brand new to the board. Ton of experience working with other mountain bike boards and other mountain bike trail systems around the state and super psyched to get involved with BMA. And favorite ride, lots of them, but I was just out this past Sunday. I ride Picture Rock with my 10-year-old son quite a bit. And this past Sunday, it went from 61 degrees to 34 degrees in about 10 minutes. So it was a wonderful experience in learning how to deal with the elements. So, and psyched to be here.
Thanks, Stephen. So everyone we just heard from is our volunteer board of directors, and BMA has had 2 paid staff this year. I am Wendy Sweet, the executive director. And let's see, my favorite ride this year was Soda Mountain in Steamboat Springs, doing that for the first time. And I will introduce our second staff member, Mike Rudder.
Hey everyone, Mike Rudder, Trails Program Director, newly hired as of April this year. I've been spending most of my time down at Maryland Mountain working on Fast Money, and my favorite ride this year, since I've been broken for the last couple of years, was actually David Lee Roth at Lefthand OHV. I haven't done that yet and finally got to do it a couple weeks ago, so that's been my best ride so far.
Awesome. Well, I think that's everyone. Also, I'll just give a quick shout out to Raf. Raf's one of our board members. You see his photo here. He wasn't able to make it tonight, but yeah, appreciate it, everyone. So I'm gonna kind of kick it back to the focus being on the slides here. We're going to talk a bit more about our staff in a moment, but before we do that, we've got a bit of our first actual order of business. We've got to elect and re-elect our board officers, which is fun, logistical, nonprofit stuff. So we're going to keep this one really simple. We've already had the discussion as a board internally and have our proposed officer elections all lined up, as you can see here on the slide. And there's really no major changes to what we had last year. So to make sure you all have a say and that we're all on the same page, we're going to open up a poll that will allow you to vote yes or no to the election. So Wendy's got that poll up now. We're going to leave this up for maybe 2 minutes, something like that, maybe 1 minute, and just kind of knock this out. And if everything looks good, vote yay. If not, vote nay. Otherwise, you can certainly abstain as well, and we will get this thing rolling. All right, so we've actually already got about 95% of the participants that are in the meeting right now voted. So I think we're good to go. It was a really close one with 98% yes and the other 2% in abstain. So I think that's shared out now, so you guys should be able to see that. Thank you for taking a moment to do that with us. We really appreciate it. So last thing I want to mention before we really get started and move from the slide here is that today's Colorado Gives Day. So I promise there will be plenty more shameless plugs like this one. But in case you didn't know, Colorado Gives Day means that whatever's donated today actually has an element of it being matched by the state of Colorado. So there's no better time. It's a really rock solid time right now to support your favorite trails. We've got a link that we'll post to the chat here. And because we're super thoughtful and we wouldn't want you to miss anything while you head over to that link, we're going to do a few prizes for a couple minutes here. So all you have to do is go ahead and listen for your name while you go ahead and check out that link. So pretty easy peasy. It's also worth noting that, you know, having a little "I just donated" karma on your side when the prize wheel starts jamming is probably not a bad thing, just saying. So we've got the prize wheel up here, and yeah, let's go ahead and just take a couple minutes. We'll spin this thing and go ahead and begin with giving away some fun stuff while you guys check out that link that's in the chat.
Some folks just joined at the last minute, and I don't want them to miss out on
Nice.
being a part of this. So I'm going to add their names in real quick. So pardon the logistics as I was screen sharing. All righty.
No, that's awesome. We appreciate that, Marcus.
All right. Everybody can see my screen. We're going to do our first thing. What I'm giving away to start with is one of the skills clinics, and I want to give a shout out to the skills instructors that run these. I took one this year, and I've been riding 25 years, and it took it from art, and it's amazing what it does in terms of cornering skills or drop skills, whatever it is. So like AJ said, you know, you may think, hey, this is just a skills clinic, I don't need it, but holy crap, it was amazing. So it looks like Brandon Bala, if I pronounce that right. Shout out in chat if you're here. If not, we will spin the wheel again. While we're waiting for you to give a shout out to make sure you're here, I'm going to reiterate what AJ said. We're going to get into a lot of amazing stuff that happened this year. So if you can support us, if you have the means, that's awesome. Looks like Brandon's here. That is fantastic. I'll add you to the list, get you a skills clinic. We will follow up with these things on email after the meeting, probably tomorrow, because we're going to be all a little tired after the meeting as we're going along. The next thing I'm going to give away is one of our business partners, Helmet Flare. You may have seen people doing these on, snowboard helmets, ski helmets, or bike helmets. The little horns, the different swag you can put on top of your helmet. They donated one of those for us to be able to give out. So we're going to do a second spin for that one. And once again, if you can support us, Wendy will keep throwing that link out in chat, because we are taking on a lot of responsibility this year and next with our new staff hires and everything we're doing. So the more we can get support, the more trail we can build, which is awesome. So Tom Jones, you here? If so, put your name out in chat. Give you another 20 seconds to find the chat if you're out there. If not, we will spin again. All right, we're gonna spin again. Oh, hey, yo, Tom's there, sweet. All right, back into the member meeting.
Awesome. All right, congrats to the winners, Brandon and Tom. I hope you guys enjoy those prizes. Okay, so next topic we got here is actually a pretty big deal. I mentioned we're going to talk about staff in a minute. We've talked about how the number of members is higher than ever, and we've got bigger appetites for trail building than we ever have before because of it. And well, having a few staff members is a huge way that we're going to be able to make it happen. So there's 2 staff members in BMA that I want to talk about. BMA is almost exclusively volunteer run, including everybody on the board and myself. And we've all got busy lives, and having Wendy and Rudder as dedicated BMM resources to keep moving the needle in the right direction is absolutely critical. So Wendy Sweet took on the role of executive director this year, and we couldn't be more stoked. She's been the one keeping the lights on for a while now, and she's a huge asset to the strategic and operational functions of BMA. I mean, if you're digging the better communication on social media, the trail condition updates, et cetera, she's the magician making all that happen. And more behind the scenes, Wendy is truly the soul of BMA. She's the one that's organizing meetings with different land managers to build relationships and talk trails. She's the one that pushes for things that might otherwise remain status quo, like opening Heil, or at least parts of Heil back up post fire. That's all her. She's the one who's kind of putting pressure on those kinds of things to make sure it happens. And I can't overstate how important she is to BMA. Mike Rudder is a brand new addition to the BMA crew. So he's our first ever trails program director. So that's right, we're actually able to bring on this year a professional trail builder full time, which we are psyched about. So now we're able to come to land managers with a bona fide pro trail builder when having conversations about new trails that we either want to design or existing trails that we want to optimize for bikes. So hiring Rudder was a big leap for us, and your support is what will enable us to really put him to work. So, all right, that's enough about all the badass people of BMA. Let's talk about trails. So Wendy, why don't you go ahead and kick us off about Springbrook?
Great. Well, thank you, AJ. That was a very nice introduction. We'll move through our trails pretty quickly. And if you have questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A or the chat. Probably the Q&A is a better place so we don't lose them. If it's something really quick, we can answer it while we're talking about the topic. Otherwise, we're going to have that Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So Springbrook is the 4th trail in the South Boulder Marshall Mesa system that BMA has been working on with the City of Boulder Open Space and Mountain Parks. The first big trail project was High Plains in 2017, then Dowdy Draw in 2018, Coal Seam in 2019, and Community Ditch in 2020. The City of Boulder and BMA worked to identify areas in the system that have trail erosion and consistent trail closures due to muddy conditions. We use a variety of maintenance tools to address water and mud-related damage like grade reversals, rock armoring, and berms. Springbrook had several areas of significant rutting and trail damage that were fixed. In addition, we added berms and rock armoring. And while we're performing maintenance, we are also working on making these shared use trails bike optimized. And sometimes there's a misconception about what that means, like the whole area will just be one big bike park. And while we do like adding fun side features for bikes to play on, here's what a bike optimized trail should mean. It should be built at a low to moderate grade. This means makes climbs more enjoyable and lets riders descend without dragging their brakes. It should break up the grades with significant reversals or level sections. This provides a break for climbers and slows down descenders. Twists and turns in the trail not only make it more interesting to ride, but they also reduce overall bike speeds. And berms allow bikes to retain more control in corners. And finally, the trail should have open sight lines to let riders see the upcoming trail and to let all trail users see each other from a safe distance. We're still working with the City of Boulder to identify next year's projects, so stay tuned. And Rudder's gonna talk to us about Heil.
Heil Valley Ranch, I think we all know, obviously we had the Cowwood fire that burned through there last year and did some significant damage. As you can see here through the photo, that's a lot of what the whole property looked like in places. You know, this is obviously the Wapiti Trail, roughly at the, looking down below the ruins, roughly back towards the south. And Wendy was actually really on top of this, pushing to make sure that, you know, hey, where are we at? What are we doing? How do we get BMA in here to help out? And as soon as they were ready, they basically tagged us and said, get in there and start working. And so we were able to get crews in there mid to late August and worked in September, just clean this up, trying to bring that trail back. And it worked out really, really well. And it helped to get this trail open a lot faster. And we hope to keep putting that pressure on to get more of the south end open sooner than later as well. So that's all I got for that. Moving on to Maryland Mountain. This is a project that we've been sharing with Comba. There's Gary Moore, the executive director. You can see there in the slide next to Wendy talking about stuff last year. I came in as an employee, obviously, for BMA in April of this year, and they put me to work right away down there. We had Fast Money, which had just been built, but was not quite up to the spec that we wanted as a downhill only bike trail. And so I came in and basically rerouted a lot of those sections with help from other volunteers and just made it a more fun, flowy, easy intermediate trail. So 3 feet wide, you know, a lot of rollers, a lot of jumps, a lot of little side hits and things to play with and make it more interesting and very fast, obviously, fast downhill. And then we were able to get an extension on the end of Fast Money to make a single track that goes through the trees. So a little bit tighter, 2 feet wide is kind of the base width on that. And then that pops off a tailings pile at the very end and drops off onto the tramway. So a nice little addition to kind of finish that trail system. And then on top of that, we had a little ravine trail that we're just now finishing up that is an alternate line off of the lower Fast Money section. And that is just a basic ravine line. So dropping down on the left and then popping, going back down to the right and then back down to the left and so on for like another 600 feet out onto the road as well. So fun, flowy, fast, a little more intermediate in the skill set on that. As for next year, we're working on creating Double Down at Maryland Mountain. So that's going to be a collaboration also with Comba to get a private or a professional contractor in there to do potentially double black diamond line through some pretty gnarly territory on the north side of the hill, kind of parallel-ish to Hard Money. If anyone's familiar with that trail alignment down there, that's more of that blue-black sort of alignment. And that's going to be something, just another addition on there. And so the City of Black has allowed a lot. I think we've been putting some really good trails down, and I'm hoping that we can also get some other lines up in there as well to help sort of round out what's available on that system. And that's all I have for that.
Thanks, Rudder. We're going to take a quick prize wheel break.
Oh, back up for me. Sweet. I will come on video to give away these prizes. I think I forgot that last time. So 1,000 apologies. Too many things going on. So the folks that gave you guys the beer to drink, if you managed to pick up your 6-pack, have also given us a gift certificate to Scott Street. I believe it's $35. And Wendy, is that right? I lost it in my notes. I have too many pieces of paper out.
Yes,
Awesome.
$35 gift certificate to Scott Street. Brustillery. And if you've been around a while, that's the Jose Muldoon's building that then was something and then was Fate and is now Scott Street.
Yeah, so they gave tons of beer to this, which is awesome. And they gave this as well for us to give away. So I'm going to spin the wheel for that one. While we're doing this, I want to give a shout out again. All that work we did at Merrill Mountain is because you guys have supported us. So if you want us to continue that work and you have the means, if you can hit us up on Colorado Gives, that'll also get us a little bit of match. That would be fantastic. Paula Pearson, are you here? If so, shout out in chat. I'll give you about 10 or 15 seconds. Yeah, sweet. All right, Paula is here. And the next thing we're going to go is another skills clinic. So let me spin this wheel again. These group clinics have about anywhere from 8 to 12 people. I don't know if we'll be able to do more than that in a clinic in the upcoming year with COVID and all, but Pete Galt, are you out there? Pete Galt. So these skills clinics are amazing. I can't keep shouting about them enough. Like I'm contemplating taking 2 or 3 of them next year just because, you know, it may be a similar thing that I learned in the first one, but practice makes perfect and they can critique what you're doing. Pete Galt, are you here? Last chance. All right, spinning the wheel again. Another skills clinic giveaway. This time. Gansel, didn't you win something last year? Gansel, are you with us today?
Oh,
I don't know. Did Gansel show up to the meeting today? If not, we could give the skills clinic to someone else. He is there. All right, cool. Am I right, Brian? Did you win something last year? Anyway, I'll take your name off the list now. All right, back into, oh, didn't win something. I guess I just thought you did. All right, Wendy, back over to you. And yes, Anna, we're feeling very sorry for you.
Thanks. All right. So next up, this is something that we're hoping to move forward in 2022, a new Betasso Link. So Boulder County Parks and Open Space first started evaluating a new Betasso Link back in 2016. They came up with a few conceptual ideas, but were up against some steep grades in Boulder Canyon and private property issues around the Alpine Inn. And then CDOT began the Boulder Canyon Improvement Project that you may remember didn't wrap up until this year. BMA is working with the county to assess this area again using an easement with BMA business partner, the Adventure Lodge, to make this connection a reality. Boulder County already owns the land between the Adventure Lodge and Betasso, and there are already a couple non-system trails that are open to hikers today. The existing trails that start near the Adventure Lodge are too steep to be used by bikes right now, but we think alternate alignments are definitely possible. We'd love to see a new link here from the intersection of Boulder Canyon Drive and 4 Mile Canyon Drive that is optimized for climbing and ties into the existing Betasso system at the intersection of the Canyon Loop and the Betasso Link. Then it would be possible to have a loop from town that is open to bikes 7 days a week. And also a way to get to Betasso without needing to ride on Boulder Canyon Drive or 4 Mile Canyon Drive. We really want to create a safe way for our younger riders like the high school mountain bike teams or Boulder Junior Cycling or Simba or Avid for Adventure to be able to ride from town more safely. This trail idea is still pretty new, even though it had been kind of kicked around in 2016, and we don't have more details other than a commitment from county trail planners to continue discussing our proposal.
I'm gonna break in here and give a shout out to Wendy for this because this wouldn't be happening without Wendy. Wendy actually has done a lot of work trying to push the county to make sure they're considering this and moving ahead with it. And yeah, thank you, Wendy, because this I think would be amazing to be able to not have to ride on road to get to Betasso. So yay, Wendy.
Yeah, total ditto to that.
It is a bummer that they ran out of money when they did that Canyon Trail extension. It would have costed, I don't remember, $250,000 more or $500,000 to make another underpass by the existing link trail between, you know, when you go up from Chapman to the link. And they just ran out of money to do that. So, you know, if you've been riding to Betasso or from now, you still have over half a mile on Boulder Canyon Drive or a couple miles up 4 Mile to get to the other link trail. Oh, Mike Barrow is telling us
call
it's
out, and I was gonna call it Tom's got a comment in here too about asking if it'll replace the existing link trail, and no, it'll definitely just be an alternative. We still love the link trail.
All right, and moving on to Lefthand now. So there's some, let me come on video for this part. So a little bit of backstory on Lefthand so people understand. I don't know if everyone's ridden there or not, but if you haven't, Lefthand is the most advanced trails in the entire Front Range. Super steep, super gnarly, attracts advanced riders from all over the place. The interesting thing about Lefthand is that 95% of those trails built illegally. Not what we call system trails, go in quite frequently. They're expanding constantly. The interesting thing is that it's not illegal to ride a trail that was built illegally. It's only illegal to build it. So you're safe to ride there. It's totally legal to ride on all these trails, but a lot of them are not formalized. So there's something really interesting happening at Lefthand that is going to take a lot of our energy and effort, which is that there's now been a planning grant submitted, and the Forest Service is going to work with some consultants to be able to go in and map everything that's going on with Lefthand, be that cultural resources, be that environmental factors, also mapping all the trails that are there. And that is happening in this upcoming year. So there's going to be a lot of coming together of the mountain biking community. So I'd like everybody to pay attention to this, because we want all these trails to stay out there, because there is no other riding experience out there like this for advanced riders. But it's going to come into a public process, all these things that you always see us fighting in and working in to make sure we get as much bike access as possible. So they're coming in, they're going to look at all the trails, and we need all of the riders to be together, to be there, to represent what we want out there at Lefthand, to make sure that that we don't lose any trail access out there. So that's coming up. You can stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of information coming out of this. We're starting to pull together the advocacy crew that's going to deal with this and try to make sure that we're getting the information out that everyone needs. So to date, BMA hasn't built a trail in Lefthand. We've offered to come in and fix things, like if you know the 842 downhill, big rutted out center line and part of it, we offered to fix that and we were turned down. So far, all those trails out there haven't been built by BMA. They've been built by individuals who are just sneaking out under the cover of night or weekends or whatever and building them. But now it's time for the whole community to step up and be like, okay, we value these. These are important. It's close riding to town. It's advanced riding. Like it's a amazing asset. So pay attention, please. You're going to hear us putting out shouts for call to actions of things that we need to be able to support these. If you're interested in getting involved in that effort, we're going to be looking for volunteers because there's going to be a lot of legwork to make sure this is going on. So if you have any questions around Lefthand, by all means, throw them out in the Q&A or throw them out in the chat. We can answer them. But this is a big deal. Like this is an area that a lot of us cherish, and there's visibility coming to it. Let me say that. And we really, really want to maintain all of those trails out there. All right, I'm going to drop off video now and we'll bounce on to the next thing. Rudder and Corey, I think you guys are up.
Hey, everybody. I don't know, Corey, if you're going to jump on right away, but one of the big things that I was brought on to do is try to increase our volunteer base, as well as help develop more crew leaders, more high value volunteers that can come in and help and lead, trail events. So I don't have to do all of them, but also to have those people to help you, with projects as well. And so Corey, who's way better at all this stuff than I am, because I'm more of a dirt and rocks kind of guy, he kind of helped start this outline on what we're looking for, how we're going to reach everybody. And so one of the first 4 main points we have is we want to enhance BMA's volunteer attraction capabilities. We want to engage volunteers more consistently and effectively, retain and grow BMA volunteer community through a strategic rewards program. And then fourthly, we want to have a volunteer crew leadership development program. So those are the main 4 points that we kind of started with. And then I'll bring Corey on here to kind of talk about the bullet points here more.
Hey everybody, I'm Corey Kaiser. And like Mike said, I've been working on this volunteer project with him. trying to kind of increase or kind of be more strategic about how we do volunteerism with BMA. So some of the main things that we're going to be working on and that we'd like membership input for is, we want to take a look at what we're doing currently with our volunteerism, how we attract volunteers, how we retain everybody, and how we kind of keep everybody engaged, and how you feel about your level of engagement around volunteerism for trail building. And then we want to start setting up some goals for, what a successful volunteer campaign would look like. We want to kind of build a more strategic community of volunteers. And we want to have a way of kind of saying thank you for all of that, through a thoughtful reward strategy. One thing that we're definitely looking at and wanting to exploit or wanting to take advantage of is our membership population and where you work and the communities that you kind of live in and participate in outside of mountain biking. Are those communities that would be interested in coming out and spending some time digging trail and repairing the trail that we have and building new trail? So look for correspondence from all of us to come out in the future about opportunities to volunteer, and also opportunities to connect about volunteering, with external communities to just BMA. Thanks.
Hey everybody, this is Kelsey. So talk to you guys about programs for this year. Our programs did awesome this year, despite all of the COVID struggles that we dealt with. So for our rides, I'm sure many of you have done our group rides at least once. They're free, they're a total blast. We have a lot of fun. There's different types of rides for beginner, intermediate, women's only, things like that. So this year, even with COVID this year, we had 69 different rides, which totaled to 892 riders and 35 different ride guide leaders that came out. So thanks to everybody that was a ride guide leader this year for coming out and leading some awesome rides. For our skills clinics this year, we were totally jam-packed with skills clinics this year. We brought back the 4-week series every month. We had those. We included some new clinics. Dave and I came up with the Hucks and Drops clinic this year. That was a total hit. So we're looking forward to kind of progressing that next year and having more of that as well. So we did 43 group clinics this year with 11 different instructors and a whole bunch of private clinics as well. So thanks again to all of our skills instructors who spend their time volunteering and working with all of our members for that. And yeah, for those of you that came out for a skills clinic, we appreciate that. We had a lot of fun. And then the Brute Squad was our last program that we do. For those of you that don't know, the Brute Squad is a team that you can join for the year, and you do group workouts together. So there was 9 riders this year, ages 18 to 62, which is pretty awesome. And they had 17 weeks of training, over 50 group workouts and rides. And then this spring, 23 of our past brutes and current brutes went out into the desert and did the 18 hours of Fruita race, which is great. And then this fall, 24 of them went to South Dakota to race in the Dakota 5.0. So congrats to you guys and gals that went out and crushed all of that. So for those of you that don't know, registering for the skills clinics and the brutes can be on the BMA website. I believe brutes start in January for registration, and then the group rides are all on Meetup. So thanks again for everybody that came out and had fun with us. Ryan.
So patrol had a little slower year this year, as you might imagine. We had a few impediments to getting out, what with the fires and smoke and, oh yeah, pandemic. We still managed to log 500 patrols over the course of about 1,000 hours. And by the end of the year, we are slated to ding in over 6,000 miles spent on patrol, helping people out there. So yeah, if anyone else is interested, we are starting to look at 2022 patrol, and we are actually looking at putting on a new director of Rick Hackett. So stay tuned for that. Brooke?
BMA has also started continue with our diversity and inclusion rides. We've always had the women's rides, our girls group rides, and to those we've added other rides such as our BIPOC ride, our Latinx ride, and we're hoping to add more to our diversity and inclusion rides. We're super excited. It's been going well.
Can I jump in and say thank you to this guy who's in this picture front and center? This is Christian. He was running our Latinx rides, and the dude's got some stoke. I assume he's here in the crowd somewhere, but super awesome volunteering. So thank you for that as well. All right.
All right.
Remind me when I was gonna say back to someone. This one's not me, right?
Yeah. Like, whose turn is it? What do I do with my hands? Yeah, so I can take this one. So thank you everybody for taking us through all that mountain bike goodness. Obviously a ton of information there, and really happy you jumped in there with that last one, Marcus, too, because there's a lot that we didn't talk about and a lot of little things that happen behind the scenes that contribute to making all of this possible, right? Like skills clinics, for example. Who's scheduling that and making that happen? Well, in this case, Wendy, but the point being, there's a lot of stuff going on. So what we're going to do now is kind of bring home this Colorado Gives Day celebration. But first, we're going to give away a few more prizes. So if you want to go ahead and kind of jump to the prize wheel, I am going to just kind of point out that we're still throwing that chat link or that link in the chat. This will be kind of the tail end of the meeting here. So if you haven't donated and you plan to, now's a great time while we do this wheel. So yeah, let's give away a couple more prizes and then we'll wrap this thing up, huh?
Sweet. So what I'm giving away this time is a Holden $100 gift certificate from Boulder Cycle Sport, a great bike shop, good swag to be able to pick up with $100. So I'm going to spin the wheel for this one. Oh, Adam, it just went past you. Andy Carlson, are you here? If so, throw your name out in chat and we will get that to you. I'll give you a few more seconds to chime in. Otherwise, the $100 goes to someone else. I'm going to give him a second. I'm going to spin for the next thing with the skills clinic, and then I will come back to that just in case. Oh, Wendy says no, Andy. So I'm going to go ahead and spin for the $100 again. All right, here we go. Second take.
Big money, no whammies.
Dating yourself. Oh, James, boom. James, you with us? I think I saw you in chat earlier, didn't I?
Yeah, that's the name I know.
I'm James. I'm sure you're here, right? I think I saw you chatting earlier.
Yeah, he said something earlier. He's definitely
all
here.
right. Cool. Well, we know he's here for part of it, so we'll go ahead and give it to him. Sweet. All right.
There he is.
And then last thing, giving away one more skills clinic. So it's the last prize of the night. If you haven't gotten in your Colorado Gives donation yet, let me tell you all of this stuff and all the volunteers. We couldn't mention all the volunteers that do everything because there are a lot of them. And we are enabling everything they're doing with the money that you guys give with your membership. And we also use your membership to support our political agendas. So the more members we have, the more we can support. So if you aren't a member as well, consider joining, because it's not just the money of your membership. That is good, that helps us, but it's also when we're talking to politicians about things like, hey, BMA represents 1,340 mountain bikers. We actually represent all the mountain bikers, but the more we can have that are paid members, the more clout we have. So last skills clinic. And Gary Moore. All right, I don't think Wendy, can we give this to Gary?
I don't think he's on because it's his wife's birthday. He texted me. He wasn't. So
for those that don't know,
No.
Gary Moore is the executive director of COMBA, which is who we're building Maryland Mountain with. So I probably should have taken his name off of the wheel of names. We'll take it off now, and we will spin again. Amy Smeester, are you with us?
I think I saw her earlier.
Is she there? I see. Oh, there she is. Got our final winner. All right. I can't thank everybody enough. Like, I'm stepping off the board, but I'll still be here. And it warms my soul to see all the people that are stepping into the board to fill in for for the work that Rich and I are leaving and Lauren leaving. So thank you, all the new board members as well.
Thank you, Marcus. Also, thank you, Corey Wilcox, just threw a message in the chat. That's super, super generous and nice of you to say. We really appreciate that. All right, so let's see. We're kind of getting to that last part of the meeting, right? How we all doing out here? Anyone finish all the beers that they picked up? If you did, that's a hell of a Tuesday. But,
six beers in 47 minutes. You guys should, if that person should get their credit card out is what should happen.
I mean, if you didn't see right through the ploy, that's the idea, you know?
Oh.
No. No judgment. But before we open it up to the Q&A section, obviously one last shameless plug for donations. As a reminder that everything comes in tonight will be part of the Colorado Gives Day and earn us some matching funds. So if you're gonna do it for sure. Your money goes a lot further. If you're working from home nowadays, you know, what's a week worth of gas money, that kind of thing. I'm not going to repeat all of the badass projects that we've got in the works or the ones that we've got dreamed up for the future, but we can't do it with all of your help, without all of your help. So, you know, if you can't give today, we totally get it. Really, just keep us in mind for next time, whenever you're looking to give back. So now let's jump into the Q&A. We've got about 12 minutes left here, and we want to tackle some of the questions that y'all have. Obviously, we're always available for questions, so you don't have to wait for this meeting. You can always reach out to us. We're always happy to chat with members and talk about the things we're doing, questions that you have about it, that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm psyched about the turnout we had for this virtual event. Honestly, it's pretty similar to what we usually get for an in-person party that we normally have. For anyone who's been, we normally have the party out at the old Reeb Ranch, the old Oscar Blues Ranch, which was awesome. It has like a mini bike park and everything. It's a good time. But post those questions to the chat. We're going to start going through as many as we can with the remaining time here. And you know, anybody that's going to jet at this point, we really appreciate you coming, and rubber side down. So with that, let's take a look at some questions. North Sky.
And
yeah.
Actually, Wendy,
sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I started talking. I already said I was going to answer a question, then it disappeared about the toll trail. Yes. So we do have a big section if you need a lot of background on what an amazing trail this was. The conception of this started way back in 2005, just getting Boulder County to think about the first ever recreation easement acquired in the county. And this year, actually last year, we did a little bit of volunteering starting the trail. This year, Tony Boone's company, Timberline Trailcraft, is the contractor who was awarded to build this trail, and they did about 2.5-3 miles. And it was always the plan that it would be a 2-year contract for them. It's actually a really tricky project because of where it is and how remote it is. It's hard to have a crew up there. It's either a lot of drive time or camping. So they're going to finish up their portion next year, and Boulder County saved a section of trail near to one of the terminuses. I think it's the Eldora side that BMA is going to help finish. Originally, I think they said the trail would definitely open in 2024. They were giving themselves a really big buffer. I think there's some assets that are going to take that long to open, but we're really hoping by next fall, it'll be pretty much wrapped up. The season might be over, so it might not be open until spring for riding. It's not going to be open in the winter because it goes through some of Eldora Nordic area that is not open. Let's see. Should I hit all of these?
Yeah, go for it, Wendy. You know everything, so.
North Sky. Yes, North Sky is still happening, still on the slate. There was a little bit of movement on that this year. If you're not familiar, this trail is going to connect North Boulder to Joder Ranch on the west side of Highway 36. There's the existing beach trail that's currently open to the old beach factory that you can hike on, but it's not open to bikes. The past couple of years, the city of Boulder made some real estate deals to be able to move the trail a little lower off the hillside for an alignment they thought would have less resource damage. So they have done those real estate transactions. Because of the pandemic, they are not sure if they're going to be able to start construction next year, but BMA would really like to offer our professional trail building services and design and see if we cannot get this going next year. And if not, it will be 2023. But please know we're going to work our darndest to get some movement on that. What about Wapiti at Heil? Will it open in the spring? Yes. So the Boulder County Commissioners agreed with staff to keep it closed. What's going on in South Heil is they have some contractors out there that are still working on repairs to culverts. They're doing what they call structures, but they're debris dam in case there's any sort of mudslide or heavy rain event. There's these dams that kind of catch things down the hill before you lose an entire hillside. So while the contractors are in there, the whole South Heil area is considered a construction zone. And so they're not allowed to have the public in there because of the contract they have with this with the group that's doing this building. But the group did say that they will, be wrapping up the spring, and then all of South Heil will reopen. And we do have a little update. There could be some changes to the alignment with Wapiti. There's been a golden eagle nest up one of the drainages near the top parking lot, and the golden eagle nest that had been there for a while was burned in the fire, and the eagles came back and they built it closer to the trail. And it's now in this quarter-mile buffer that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife say is too close to have a trail. So if the eagles are back now and they're going to do some courtship, and then county is waiting to see if they are going to rebuild the nest where it was this year closer to the trail, or if they're going to rebuild somewhere else, or how that goes. If they do choose the same nest, there's going to be some detours around the lower part of Wapiti. We'll probably have to be on the fire road a little higher past the lower section of Wapiti. So we would still have access to all of Southern Heil, but we would be on the road a little longer. And if it seems like the eagles are going to be there super long term, there's some talk about different areas to put a different single track in that would be farther away from that nest. So I think we got that one. Is there a place to see a map of where the proposed connector would go? There is. I actually just made one, so let me show you that. I'm going to put this in chat. So like I said, there are existing trails. If you park at the A Lodge, there's even little signs there. You can go hike around. It's not illegal for you to be off trail in that area. It's not a habitat conservation area. So I made a little route in trail forks to kind of show what's existing, and then kind of a way we might be able to get over to the other link trail. Again, completely conceptual, but that's on trail forks of kind of what we're looking at.
I'm going to cover when you put that out to panelists.
Oh.
I'll put it out to everyone.
Okay, thanks. Doing a lot of things.
As you always are.
All right, what do we anticipate changing at Lefthand, or is it too soon to speculate? That's a really good question. The planning grant is being led by the motorized community that would like access again. So I think that's probably one of the biggest changes, is if there's going to be a use change in that area. A less exciting answer is part of the reason motorized is not allowed at Lefthand right now is there's not a real parking lot for motorized people to park in and have trailers and unload their motorized conveyances. So that's part of what needs to happen at Lefthand to allow motorized back, is figure out, can they put a new parking lot in? where would that be, how that would work, which trails would be open to motorized, which trails would stay closed to motorized, what's going on with the current trail system, how does that fit into Forest Service speculations, is there any resource damage or wildlife or habitat damage that we're not aware of that we're going to have to address? So that's kind of the answer, is there's a lot of things that are going to be looked at and we're not sure. Adam asked about North Sky and I already answered. What is going to happen at Magnolia in 2022 in terms of building and new trails? So we're kind of at a stalemate right now in Magnolia. It's a very complicated question that involves the Forest Service and Colorado Parks and Wildlife and elk herds and their migration zones. So right now we've kind of are waiting for something to budge before we can start working on trails. One thing I can say we're definitely going to do is last year we helped design a trail from the parking lot over to the reroute Hobbit area, and it ended up going through a really boggy area. We're definitely going to fix that this spring, so that perpetual muddy spot through the aspens isn't an issue anymore. Beyond that, we're going to be working with the Forest Service and Colorado Parks and Wildlife to figure out how to unstick this issue and start moving forward, especially with the toll trail connecting into West Mag. It's going to connect at the top of School Bus, and so there's lots of ways to get there. You can go up Rocks and Roots, you can go up School Bus, you can go up a couple different motorized Jeep roads, but actually neither Rocks or Roots nor School Bus Trail is technically a Forest Service system trail. So something needs to happen to make that system make sense, work. We'll keep you updated when we figure it out. Janelle,
Wendy, that one might mean left hand. I don't know if that one came in during the left hand conversation or not. Anyway, go ahead.
That makes more sense. This question, any thoughts about advocating to add, possibly co-locate in the vicinity of existing trails, some new trails for hiker runners? Janelle, did you mean left hand specifically? I'll answer it as if you did. When this process next year happens for left hand, there's going to be a bunch of different stakeholders involved. There'll be the motorized folks and the mountain bikers and the hikers and the neighbors and conservation folk. And we're all going to be looking at maps, trying to figure out the best way for everything. And certainly at a place like Left Hand, it's going to make a lot more sense to not have people hiking on trails that work really well for downhill bikes or motorcycles. So we can't make any promises, but we definitely have in our head that we would like to help advocate for a more modern trail design that takes into account user experience, user speed, and allows for a place that a lot of different users can go, but aren't mixing together on all the same trails in ways that don't really make sense.
You want me to take this one, Wendy?
Yes.
Yeah,
Do you want me to read it?
Get a drink of water. Yeah.
Okay. On average, how long does it take to build a new trail, a mile at a time, and how many volunteers are generally needed? How many trails does BMA maintain, and how much does that generally cost?
So to answer that first part of the question, on average, how long does it take to build a new trail? John, that it's so variable. There really isn't any standard, like it takes X amount. It depends on how rocky the terrain is, depends on how steep the terrain is. All those different things play into it. What's the topography like? Is it tree line? Is it more shrub, territory, that kind of stuff. So it's really hard to nail it down. And as far as volunteers, we'll take as many as we can get on any general project, so, we can definitely spread people out over a mile. I mean, we had the big volunteer project at Picture Rock back in 2008. I think we had almost 200 people on that for a little over a mile of trail. so we got a lot done with that. So it's all very variable in that sense. To the second question, how many trails does BMA maintain? How much does that generally cost? It doesn't really cost us anything in general in the past. Obviously, I have a salary now, so that has to be covered, but we are volunteer labor, for these land managers. So it's pretty, win-win for them and us. How many trails do we maintain? That's a hard question to answer because now we have Maryland Mountain that's kind of in that realm. We don't really know, and we'll have Toll Trail coming online here pretty soon, West Mag, all of Boulder County open space, all of City of Boulder, so, and anybody that really needs our help, we're willing to help out, in terms of trails in this area. So I don't know that we have a hard number on that, but certainly all of those land management agencies.
Maybe we could answer it this way though. You ride at Brainerd, we're maintaining those trails. You ride at Magnolia, we're maintaining those trails. You ride at Heil, you ride at Hall, you ride at Betasso, you ride at Marshall Mesa, you ride at Maryland Mountain, we're maintaining those trails. So the amount that Wendy and Rudder as our only paid staff are organizing volunteers to take over and manage those trails and try to keep them in shape, plus all the volunteers that come out to do it, is truly mind-boggling when you think about it in scopes of all of that. So, their land managers are pitching in time there as well, but those systems are systems that BMA is at trying our best to pay attention to all of them and fix as much as we can in all of them.
And I actually did this as a thought experiment. Last month, I looked on Trail Forks and tried to look at Boulder County minus trails not open to bikes that are not roads. And I came up with a number a bit over 200. So that doesn't mean we're actually out there maintaining 200 miles of trail, every year, but it's things on our radar that we're watching, trails that are going to need maintenance sooner than later. It's still on Rudder's to-do list to go out to Brainerd Lake and help remove some of that rebar that's been sticking up out of some old water bars that is just waiting to impale someone. So little things like that. Yeah, it's over 200 miles. What do you look for in new board members, and how many does the charter governing document limit you to, and how do people go about becoming one? Thanks, Corey. Good question. I was trying to skim our bylaws really quick. I'm pretty sure we need to have at least 5 and not more than 20. I'll throw our bylaws out here in the chat. Yeah, and if you're interested, you can hit us up. And we can talk to you about what you're looking for, kind of what skill sets we're looking for, and we can go from there. All right, Craig, there was a park ranger at Marshall Mesa a couple months ago taking a survey. One of the questions was, should more Boulder trails have bike only days? Any word on if this will become a reality or not? Well, Craig, thanks for alerting us that there was a ranger volunteer at Marshall Mesa taking a survey. This is the first time hearing of it. We can definitely check in with the city to find out what they're thinking. So the interesting thing, it's really hard to tell sometimes in Boulder because we have open space owned by the county and open space owned by the city, and they're managed differently by different people. Right now, Betasso is our only trail system that has a hiker only day, no biker only day. There are no systems within the city of Boulder that don't allow a user group on a temporal scale like that. There's certainly a bunch of hiking trails that are hiker all the time. So yeah, we'll follow through with the city of Boulder and just check on what they're doing, who they're surveying and why. Any updates on the rest of Boulder Valley Ranch? I mean, so many trails are scheduled to be cleaned up, rerouted, and the opening of the already existing trail that is not open to bikes, but to peds that avoids the Eagle drop-in. We have not heard much updates other than they're going to start thinking about what they might do. We're certainly interested in what the possibilities of improving Boulder Valley Ranch. If you're not familiar with the name, that's the trails out by Boulder Res, like Eagle and Sage, and Lefthand Trail, which is not Lefthand OHV. To be honest, right now, BMA's main focus in that area is making sure the North Sky Trail gets built. But yeah, the city's not moving very fast on a lot of the things identified in the North TSA decision of 2016. And they're still actually doing things identified in the West TSA, which was 2011. So like the Anemone Hill Hiker Trail updates just opened last month, and that was from 2011. That's the speed at which city moves right now. But again, maybe with BMA's staff increase, we might be able to help them out a little more. Any plans for Springbrook to be directional given the recent work? No. Springbrook is a really complicated loop because half of it is near a habitat conservation area and is not open for dogs. So if you have a dog, you can hike on the north side, but not the south side. And sometimes hikers continue on over on the Fowler Trail towards El Dorado Springs. So because of the nature of the hikers and dogs, it's not a good candidate to be directional.
Wendy, do you want me to answer this one?
Sure. Do we have a stance on e-mountain bikes?
Yeah, so we actually had a long discussion around this at the board retreat. And the general decision was we need to gather a lot more data on this, that this is something that we've long had a stance that is somewhat non-committal in either way. So we're trying to come up with a whole series of data gathering and educational events, because this is something that gets pretty heated in our community in terms of, are e-bikers mountain bikes? Are they not mountain bikes, et cetera. So we're actively working on this, trying to figure out how to help get ahead of this, because as best we can tell, this is coming at us quickly. There's not any more sort of trying to avoid it. The number of e-mountain bikes are growing exponentially. So so we're actively talking about it, and we're trying to figure out how to get everybody's input. And then in the last survey, it actually came out that a lot of our members were supportive of e-mountain bikes on trails, which was the first time I think I had seen it pass into majority, which was interesting. So being discussed, we don't have a stance on it yet, but we're actively working on it.
Marcus, do you want to take this, or should I? What is the status of the Indian Peaks Traverse?
Sure, yeah, I can stay on for this one. So Indian Peaks Traverse, for people that don't know, that is a trail connecting Boulder to Winter Park. The toll trail that we talked about earlier was sort of the last big missing link where just no trail existed, or private land trails existed that you could cross, but you had to be on road if you were going to do it officially. With the toll trail opening, that's going to be the soft opening, or actually I say real opening, between Netherland and Winter Park. As you probably saw, we lost the fight to have the El Dorado Walker connection open. And so right now you would have to ride up Chapman, up Flagstaff, up 68J until you get to East Mag. And at that point you could get on trail. So the Indian Peaks Traverse will be fully open with the toll property. It won't be, unfortunately, what we wanted in terms of single track connecting all the way. So it'll be more of a gravel grinder road ride up until, 68J is actually a little more than gravel grind. It's a pretty gnarly fire road, but to get to that point. So when that toll trail property is open, I would say the Indian Peaks Traverse is ready to go. And then this is the question of, can we ever actually get single track connectivity from sort of the Ned to Boulder section that doesn't end at East Mag.
Any newsworthy long-term plans for fat snow biking? I would say no. First of all, are there any plans for snow? I'm not sure about that either. What we're finding in Boulder County, to have true backcountry multi-use non-groomed trails, there's actually very little that actually holds snow to be packed like that. And so that's the area we fat bike at mostly, Brainerd Lake and Peaceful Valley. what we're finding with that, and I fat bike a lot, and we have other board members that do as well. The amount of trails open to bikes, and with our snow to keep it packed and rideable, we can't always keep all the trails we even have open to bikes with the resources we have. We had volunteer Troy Mandry last year who took on a great project of keeping sourdough from Beaver Res Road packed. And it really worked, but he was out there snowshoeing once or twice a week to make that happen. So I think there's still a lot more coordination our community can do of snowshoeing and packing and riding. But right now there's not really any change in trail access. I can throw out there real quick, it's pretty far on the horizon right now. We might have a new project in redoing the Little Raven extension. So there's the Little Raven Trail that BMA helped build in, I can't remember, 2008 maybe. And then that dead ends on Lefthand Reservoir Road. And then there's kind of an old trail / road, the extension that goes down. And Little Raven is closed to bikes in winter. But we're looking at maybe rerouting the extension in a completely different area that would be all single track, and possibly leaving that extension still open. It's pretty fun downhill from Lefthand Res Road, but maybe having something climbable from Sourdough up the extension. And then in summer, that would also be a trail instead of kind of that Jeep road. So yeah, Kevin, let me know if you wanted a slightly different answer, if I didn't quite hit that. Gary, how about our relationship with IMBA? Right now, BMA is still maintaining the relationship we have with IMBA. They process our memberships, and we're considered a chapter along with 7 other mountain bike associations in Colorado, and we will let you know if anything changes on that front. Who maintains Rabbit Mountain? Rabbit Mountain is owned by Boulder County Parks and Open Space, and that property is part of a big parcel called the North Foothills Open Space Area that also includes Hall Ranch and Heil Valley Ranch. There is some potential at Rabbit Mountain, and those areas are due for a new or a travel management update. So we keep pressing Boulder County to find out when that's going to happen. And let me know if you had more questions about Rabbit Mountain. Are there more volunteer options than trail building, i.e. front office, etc.? Sure. So most of our volunteers are trail builders, and then we have other volunteers that are ride guides and skills instructors. And then we do have people that help with more of administrative and communications. We have a Slack workspace now with over 200 volunteers. And so there's things that come up there. Ideas for newsletters, helping proofread some of our communications, helping with social media. Definitely, if you have a skill that we're not doing, we would love to talk to you. So yeah, reach out if there was something you wanted to get involved with. Thanks.
We also have a bike patrol if you like riding your bike and helping people.
Oh yeah, the biggest bike patrol in the world. How did I forget that? Yes, that's also a volunteer option. Are there any upcoming impacts expected to the Sherwood reload? There was supposed to be some prescribed burns in the fall, but I didn't see any burns occurring. So yeah, I actually went out with Boulder County, and the Parks and Open Space Advisory Committee had a field trip in that area to check out what that forestry work is and the upcoming prescribed burn. And it was really interesting learning what they're doing up there. One of the most interesting things was hearing how forestry did talk to the trail staff about how to best mitigate the impacts, and trail staff asked them to definitely leave that buffer along the trails. You're right, I didn't hear any updates, and I don't think they did the burn yet. I thought they were going to do it sometime this year, and there's still a couple of weeks left, so that may be coming, or it may have gotten pushed out till next year. Certainly when there will be a burn, there'll be a heads up. It'll be closed for a couple days. But yeah, good news, the trails should not really change. And Sherwood and Reload are technically not system trails yet. They were kind of waiting for that forestry work to happen. So Sherwood and Reload are not actually official names. So there may be some opportunity in there to see what the official names turn out, because Reload, I've also heard it referred to as Men in Tights. Sherwood will probably be Sherwood. So that's what I know about that one. Any discussion of single track sidewalks being put in near washes, for example, 75th Street near Heatherwood? BMA was kind of advocating for one single track sidewalk project that was going to be in the city of Louisville, connecting the Louisville Rec Center down to the Fireside Elementary School. And the city of Louisville seemed really excited about it, and they approved it in their transportation plan. And then COVID hit, and we've been having trouble pushing it along. It turns out single track sidewalks seem like a really great, amazing idea to bring some really cool mountain biking really close to where people live. And one of the limitations we're finding is to do it really right, not just to have kind of like that dirt track that follows some of Boulder Creek path, but to actually have what you may have seen in Eagle or Bentonville. You need to move a lot of material, and it needs to be done right, and it's expensive. So we are really hoping that we can get that Louisville project off the ground and have it as a proof of concept that it's really cool, and then be able to start looking at other areas where that might be suitable. But no, right now, that's not something we've been able to really figure out how to advocate and make happen easily. All right. Fat bike workshop last year was very useful. Will it happen again? I don't know. It certainly could. We don't have anything planned, but Zoom meetings and webinars are pretty dang easy to put together. So yeah, if we have interest, we'd love to do that again. We might need a little snow to make that exciting. So yeah, hopefully this storm coming this week is going to be the start of something, and we'll get fat biking. Whew. All right, I just ran through all the questions in Q&A. If that's it, we can say goodnight. Let me double check how we did on Colorado Gives. This is amazing. I just saw donations just ticking in, and let's see. We are at $11,900 for the night. Thank you everyone so much. So we're almost to that $15,000, and that's going to make 2022 really great. Any parting words, AJ?
No, I just wanted to make sure to get a chance to say, Wendy, you are a savage. That is an unbelievable amount of information to be able to just dump on call. Like that's impressive. So thank you for taking all of those questions. So with
Thanks,
that,
everyone.
yeah, we'll wrap this up. Thanks everybody for coming. We really appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your beers if you got some, and we will see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.